In my previous lecture, I started with rabies virus and we discussed in detail the morphology, transmission, pathogenesis and the various clinical stages associated with this virus. As you can see from this slide, this virus is a single-stranded RNA virus, and the important thing is the bullet-shaped capsule which it has, and there's just one antigenic type associated with rabies virus. Now I'm going to move on to the lab diagnosis and the treatment of this virus. The sample which needs to be collected for rabies virus identification is number one, antemortem sample, or the second is post-mortem sample. Antemortem sample means when the patient is alive, so we can take the saliva, CSF, corneal smear or skin biopsy from the neck of that patient. Post-mortem, after the death of the patient, we can take impression smears from the brain and the cornea. Rabies antigen or nucleic acid can be detected by using immunofluorescent or peroxidase staining techniques of infected tissue. All these tissues or the samples, we can use this for the staining methods, and we use monoclonal anti-rabies antibody to detect the presence of rabies antigen in these specimens. Then for nucleic acid, we can use PCR, polymerase chain reaction, and that is utilized to amplify a part of the rabies genome which we have collected from the brain tissue. Next, virus isolation. Now, virus isolation can be done by two methods. The first method is by animal inoculation, and the second is by inoculating the infected tissue in cell lines, mouse cell lines. The animal which we utilize are suckling mice, and the specimen is injected intracerebrally into this mouse, and within a few days this mouse develops encephalitis and dies. Then we take the brain specimen from this dead inoculated animal, and you are going to look for Negri bodies and rabies antigens. Now, Negri bodies are diagnostic for rabies, and I'll be discussing this in detail in the next slide. Cell lines, we use mouse cell lines. The specimen is inoculated in these culture cells, and the virus is going to get into the cells. They start multiplying over there. Within 2 to 4 days, there is rapid growth of these viruses within the cells, and they can be now identified by fluorescent antibodies using specific antisera or by neutralization test using again rabies antisera. And we have discussed these tests in detail while we were doing serological tests. Coming to the most diagnostic feature of rabies, that is the presence of Negri bodies in the cytoplasm of neurons of brainstem, hippocampus and cerebellum. Now, you take from post-mortem samples, you have taken impression smears from the brain and cornea, and you are now looking for the presence of these Negri bodies. Intracytoplasmic, 3 to 27 micrometers in diameter. They are eosinophilic inclusions with basophilic granules. The next slide is also showing you Negri bodies. This is a normal neuron, and you don't see any inclusions in the cytoplasm. But here you can see a well-defined inclusion, and if you stain it, this is what it looks like. It is oval, eosinophilic with basophilic granules, and they are intracytoplasmic, and this also constitutes one of your MCQs. Then the third method of identification this rabies virus is by looking for antibodies in the patient's serum, and these antibodies can be again detected by using immunofluorescent or by using neutralization tests. Coming to the prophylactic measures, which are very, very important. Patient who has been exposed to rabies virus or there is a bite from a rabid animal, what are you going to do? The most important thing is cleaning all wounds. After the bite, the first thing you do immediately is that you clean the wound with soap and water for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're going to use an antiseptic which could be in the form of iodine. Then you ask the patient about the vaccination history. If the patient is previously vaccinated, then you don't need passive immunization with rabies immunoglobulin. You're simply going to go move on to vaccination by human diploid cell vaccine. But if the patient is not previously vaccinated, then you have to give this passive immunization as well as active immunization. Passive immunization is by injection of rabies immunoglobulin, and then you're going to give a protocol of vaccines, which are 5 injections which are given to the patient within 1 month's time, and we are going to discuss this in detail. And then at the same time you have to notify the local health department. So as I've been telling you in my previous lecture, there is no effective treatment once the clinical signs and symptoms appear. So post-rabies prophylaxis is very, very important, and if it is given before the onset of symptoms, it is 100% effective. And what is this post-exposure prophylaxis? When there is bite of rabid animal, the wound needs to be cleaned, properly washed with soap and water for 15 minutes, and then it is disinfected with iodine. And after asking about the vaccination history, you're going to put the patient on RIG and rabies vaccine, or you're simply going to give you're going to do active immunization, and RIG or passive immunization is not required. So this post-exposure prophylaxis is wound cleaning, rabies immunoglobulins, which is RIG, or rabies vaccination. What is post-exposure prophylaxis? When we talk about immunization, we talk about passive immunization, and then we talk about active immunization. Passive immunization is just 1 dose of human rabies immunoglobulin IgG at the wound site immediately after cleaning the wound with soap and water. And once you have given this injection in combination with passive immunization, you're going to start with active immunization. Series of 5 vaccines or 5 injections are given, and the time period is the day of bite, 3 days, 3rd day, 7th day, 14th day, 28 days. That is within a month of the bite you are going to give these injections. Active immunization is done by human diploid cell vaccine. This rabies vaccine is a killed virus vaccine. The rabies infected tissue culture is chemically inactivated, and then this vaccine is prepared. The vaccine is given on the anterior. You can see this anterior abdominal wall. The injection is given on the anterior abdominal wall, and I've told you that you're going to give 5 injections, and it's going to give you protection for 6 months. Passive immunization is just IgG given once with the first dose of human diploid cell vaccine, and it is given around the wound, and it is going to give you short-term protection because you're injecting antibodies. They are going to give you protection for a short period of time till the person starts producing his own immunoglobulins by the vaccine which has been injected, the human diploid vaccine which is injected together with this passive immunization, that is human rabies IgG. Pre-exposure high risk group are the zookeepers or the dog trainers or the animal housekeepers or the vets. They needs to be vaccinated every now and then. And immunization for rabies vaccine, 3 doses are given to them: 0 day when they start working, 7th day, and 21 days when they are exposed to this rabies. And booster dose is generally given and to maintain an antibody titers of 1.5. So with this, I'm done with the rabies. And just to go over this once again, to summarize this, I've told you that these belong to the family of rhabdoviruses, and the important thing is that they are single-stranded RNA, they have a bullet-shaped capsule, and they have an envelope which have glycoprotein spikes. Transmission, I told you, is by rabid dogs or bat. There are 2 ways of transmission of this disease by bats: either number 1 by bite of the bat, and second by the aerosols. Then I also told you that the cornea can also be another mode or another mode of transmission of disease to humans. Clinical stages of rabies, I've told you that there are three clinical stages. First is the prodromal stage, and then that is acute neurological stage, and then there is coma, and finally the patient is going to die. And the important thing to note is that once the clinical stage starts or the signs and symptoms appear, then there's no going back and there's no treatment for the patient. Laboratory diagnosis, Negri bodies are diagnostic for rabies, and these Negri bodies, I've told you, they are intracytoplasmic inclusions which are eosinophilic in nature, and they have basophilic granules. Then we have talked about the post exposure prophylaxis, and we have discussed this diagram in detail, that you have to first properly clean the wound and then use an antiseptic, and depending upon the vaccination history of the patient, you're going to give both rig and human diploid cell vaccine, or you're just going to bring about active vaccination and rig is not required. Now coming to your assignment, I've given 4 MCQs which you have to attempt with your attendance. You have to attempt these MCQs and then you're going to mark your attendance. Otherwise, I'm not going to mark you people present. The first MCQ is presence of eosinophilic cytoplasmic inclusions called Negri bodies, and they are characteristic feature of which of the following diseases. Which of the following statement about rabies and rabies virus is correct, except you have to find out the one which is not related to rabies or rabies virus. Then this scenario is about a boy bitten by a rabid dog, and signs and symptoms are there. What is the best diagnostic test to perform on this patient to rule out rabies? Then which of the following statement about rabies vaccine is true? So this is all for today.